My name is Nolan Marshall. I'm the Associate Director of Common Good and the past President of the Young Leadership Council. I'm running for City Council at large, and I could use your vote. My ballot number is number 34, and I really look forward to having an experience with you during this election where I can tell you more about myself, who I am, my past experiences, and why I believe that I would be the best person for this position.
Well, Mr. Marshall, thank you for being here.
Thank you.
On behalf of NewOrleansBlack.com and the 60,000 viewers that we have in our email database, and certainly those that are watching us from social network sites, we appreciate your time.
Glad to be here.
Well, I know you personally, but many people may not. This might be a first as you're running for this office. So let's start from Nolan Marshall, the baby. Talk to us about who you are and what brings you to where we are today.
Well, my family has been in business in this city for a very long time. My grandfather started a photography studio in 1948. My father took that over in the 70s, and my grandfather went on to do some other businesses. I'm a graduate of Isidore Newman, went on to Florida A&M University, two completely different worlds, but it was a great experience for me. Came back to New Orleans after the storm and opened my own business. We did screen printing, embroidery, we did some of the graduation things that my parents and my family have always done. And when the storm hit, it completely wiped out my business. We lost most of our customer base, we lost most of our inventory, we lost everything. And at that point, I decided that if I was going to come back to New Orleans, I was going to dedicate myself to making this a better place. That's what I would commit to doing as my life work, to making sure that this place could be the kind of place that everyone would want to live and everybody would want to see recover and be everything that it could be. And so since then, I've been the Associate Director of Common Good, I've been the President of the Young Leadership Council, President of Einstein Charter School Board, on the Audubon Board, on the City Park Board, on the Human Relations Commission, the Greater New Orleans Bioeconomic Development District. Basically anything that I could find to get my hands on so that I could have a better understanding of where we needed to go and so that I could help us get there.
Well, I mean, first of all, that's commendable, and we do appreciate it. And particularly, not only are you representing African Americans, but you're also representing youth, and you're representing just the people of this community in general. So we thank you. Talk to us a little bit about Nolan Marshall, Council at Large. You know, for people like you, with the talent level that you have, you could do a lot of things, and you're already doing those things. Are you sitting at your couch watching TV? I mean, talk us through that experience when you just finally put your hand down and just said, I'm running for this position, and why?
I believe, as someone who's done community work over the last 4 years, that all of the successes that we've had as a community have come from the neighborhoods, they've come from the nonprofits, they've come from individuals and groups stepping forward outside of government to get us where we need to be.
Right.
And I finally looked at it and I said, if we're really going to have the city that we all want to have, a city that we can all be proud of, that we're going to have to do something different, that we can't afford to keep electing the same people every 4 years and expecting different results from them.
Right.
And so for me, being someone who made the decision after the storm that it wasn't going to be about money for me, it wasn't going to be about rebuilding a business or trying to find the highest paycheck that I could find. It was going to be about what can I do to make New Orleans better. The best opportunity for me was to go and to try to change something on the government side, to try to be a part of the process from that side of it, because that's where we've had the holdup. Whether it's the work that I've done with the New Orleans Crime Coalition and trying to get the City Council to fund the Public Defender's Office and the District Attorney's Office, we've always had to go up against a roadblock at city government.
Right.
So I want to be a part of that process.
Talk to us about, a lot of people view this community, I certainly do, that you kind of got it's like there's a waiting list before the young talent gets to really participate. Talk to us about your running for at-large versus a smaller position in the city. Talk to us about why you made that decision.
I believe for me, with the experiences that I've had, whether it's working on the biomedical industry or working with a charter school or working with the New Orleans Crime Coalition, I believe the experiences that I've had have allowed me to craft a vision and a plan that is a citywide plan. It's not a plan that's just for Lakeview or a plan that's just for Algiers or just for New Orleans East or just for Mid-City.
Okay.
It's really a plan for the entire city. And you know, a lot of times when you try to step forward and you're a young adult or a young professional, people tell you, wait your turn.
Right.
Or they tell you, get in line behind so-and-so.
Right.
But for me, we can't afford to do that. We can't afford to have the next generation of leaders who have prepared themselves to lead to sit and wait another 4 years or another 8 years or another 12 years. When I look at the field of opponents that I'm running against, some of them have been in office since I was in high school. Some of them were elected literally when I was a freshman in high school. And I've seen the city not progress and move forward.
Okay.
So when I hear wait behind these folks who have been there for 17 years, it doesn't make sense to me, and we can't afford to do that as a community.
Good for you. Let's talk about the initiatives that you're pushing for. What are those things that you believe you're behind that are impactful to the city of New Orleans? Name one or two of those key things that are behind the Nolan Marshall campaign.
First of all, I think we've got a great opportunity in the city going forward in the next few years to really create the kind of city that everybody's always thought New Orleans could be. We're going to have to make some huge decisions with the biomedical industry, but that's an industry that, as we go forward, it can create 10,000 new, well-paying jobs for this community. And if we do that in the right way, if we work with LSU, if we work with Tulane, if we work with the VA in building these hospitals, and we create new retail corridors along Tulane Avenue with those hospitals, we can grow our revenue side. When we look at the city budget, the first instinct of the previous council has been, what do we cut? What do we cut services? But as we go forward, we've got to do, and you know this as a small businessman, sometimes you look at the revenue side and you say, where can we grow revenue? It's not always about cutting, it's not always about making people take furloughs. Sometimes it's about how do we increase our tax base. And so priority one for me is economic development. It's making sure we seize this opportunity with the biomedical industry, with expanding our airport to really be a gateway to Latin America for biosciences. I mean, imagine if we can take advantage of what Xavier's doing in terms of their pharmacy school and producing drugs and new medicines, and grow a new Merck or a new Pfizer here in New Orleans that can then produce stuff for Latin America.
Yeah, that
that completely changes New Orleans. And then we're talking about a paradigm shift in terms of the economics here that'll impact education, that'll impact the resources that are available for kids, for recreation, for North, for everything that people in this community say that they want.
Well, I mean, and I like the thought process you have just because you're thinking a little bit outside the box, and I think we need to do more of that. One of the most important issues polled from our audience is fairness and equity. Talk to that a little bit. With all this economic development activity you're talking about, where is the equity and fairness in the private sector to the business owners as well as individuals who just want to work?
I think for everyone in this community, we have to understand that we can no longer have an environment where a few people are successful, but the majority of the people who are in poverty are not successful. So we've got to sort of be able to raise everybody else up and give everybody else access to those opportunities in the city. One of the travesties about the rebuilding of public housing in New Orleans has been that the companies doing that rebuilding, the people being hired, primarily aren't local people. So we are missing an opportunity there, and we can't afford to miss those opportunities. We can't afford to keep missing opportunities as we go along in this recovery. So we've got to make sure that regular people have access to those jobs and access. If we've got $20 billion coming through this community in the next 8 years, and we still have a poverty problem at the end of those 8 years, we haven't done something.
Shame on us.
Shame on us. So we've got to make sure people have access to that. And as we grow our city and we get more involved in minority contracting and DBE contracting, it's not going to be enough to say that we're going to have more of it, but it's going to be the same 12 companies or the same 24 companies that have access to that. So we've got to grow the pool of companies that are available, because it's going to be the small DBE and minority-owned firms that hire people in this community. And
That's right.
Put people to work that haven't had opportunity in the past.
Well, look, Mr. Marshall, we appreciate your time. In the next 15 to 30 seconds, if you would close out, we thank you in advance.
Well, I really appreciate being here, and I appreciate the opportunity to talk to the community. I believe that I have a lot to offer, and I believe that diversity in this community has to be about Black, white, Hispanic, but also generational. Was that my signal?